So, I feel weird recording like this, but we're just gonna go with it. You saw the title, thumbnail. I'm gonna be trying to explain how the 4th and 5th and up to the 7th dimension could be visualized with Minecraft within line theory, which is something I came up with like a couple years ago, even more than a couple years ago, I think. And it's just kind of the way I think the dimensions work and what makes sense to me, and I'm gonna explain it along the way. Obviously that's kind of the whole point, but let's just get into it, I guess. And yes, I made all this just for the beginning. So you got the first dimension here, pretty much just a line. That's kind of the whole point of line theory. It's a lot of like the idea of lines, and this is just a line. Second one here, 2 lines. So this is length and height. So this is like all your 2D animations and stuff. Yeah, pretty much anything that's considered 2D, this is all they're working with. They're set in a specific field of 3D vision or 3D reality, which I'm gonna help you explain some other things down there. But just think of it like this: when you put a 2D character in a quote-unquote 3D environment, they're only seeing the sliver you put them in. So the line they are in is what they experience, pretty much. Then 3D, just, adding width, stuff like that. That's our dimension, if you didn't know that. And then this is just to show, like, I'm using this as like what the 3rd dimension is, or kind of like the universe better for the rest of these, as the chest. Originally it was going to be a cobble and furnace, but then I realized they don't have cobble minecarts or furnace minecarts. So now this is the 4th dimension. This is where it gets a little weird, so I'm going to explain it the best I can. The chest and the cart are like the 3rd dimension. The chest is like our visible universe, and then the cart is like the dark matter, because the universe is like 99% dark matter. So, and the track is time. That's what I believe the 4th dimension is, time. And there's a couple ways to interpret it, but for this theory, we're interpreting it as a line that starts and then ends. Kind of like that. And then this is like the Futurama idea of it, which can just stop this theory here. Well, I mean, you could apply this to all the other theories, but depending on how you look at it. So it's the theory that the timeline just kind of loops and restarts over and over again, which could be like how you traveled through different worlds, because the worlds are just reborn slightly different each time or something like that. But this isn't really my interpretation, but I just want to make this example. Now this is the 5th dimension, and before I get into that, I'm going to explain how the 4th dimension would work for us. And it's kind of like taking the concept of a 2D character being in only a 3D space that they can experience where they're put. There's a lot of good videos using Minecraft or Minecraft-like things to show this. There's a 4D miner or something like that someone made a video and a game of, and it's the idea that you're in Minecraft, but there are things you can't see unless you use the scroller. That's your way to kind of walk around the 4D world. So for us, it makes sense that it would be time. Just like a 2D character, it's something we can experience, but only based on where we're putting it. Like, for example, like, if I wanted to be really accurate, these like last couple pixels here is where humanity is, where humans started. There was a lot of shit before us. So we're on that last couple pixels. That's where we are, and we're only able to move along with it based on the direction we're set on. So we can only move forwards, not backwards. If the cart will get back on for that. Thank you. But yeah. So 5th dimension, basically, what do you do with the lines at that point? Like, how do you add lines? Well, add lines. So basically, this is the idea that if you were 5th dimensional creature, you'd be able to basically walk through different timelines. So instead of just walking through a single timeline as fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional, you can walk through different timelines. Like, this is the timeline I ate breakfast, one I didn't. And the idea is that you could experience this in however way you can travel through it. I'm using walk because that's like the best thing I can think of to like explain it, but it would be a whole different form of movement. It would be mind-boggling to us. But yeah, in this one it's just, you know, they're all pretty similar. They run about the same, maybe a little different, you know. Some can be set in different directions, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, generally these are all timelines of similarities and stuff like that. They're usually pretty similar, similar start, similar end, maybe a couple differences in between. Ooh, I should have used different types of track for that. If I was smart, I would have done that. Now, the sixth dimension is where I'm thinking, okay, well, you could have universes that have different starts, or, you know, different things like that, how they started, or, you know, where there's completely different set of how things started, but still kind of similar. They have all the same elements and atoms and stuff like that, but the way they organize or the way they were set out amongst the universe is different. So this is like basically an example of that one. And think of this as like the timeline floor. If this is a floor of a timeline or multiple timelines of universe of a similar start, well then there's going to be different floors. So this is the floor that's like similar to our universe, that thing, like our timeline. So these are all the timelines that are similar to it. Then there's ones where, I don't know, instead of the universe being, you know, something that was compacted and then expanded, what if it was a massive explosion? Well, that would disperse things differently, but it would have its own floor of timelines. And then they would, and yes, I guess with that, timelines could collide, and it could reset that timeline. That was a really good accidental example. And some universes don't start, I guess. Yeah. But then, you know, you could have universes that had nothing. You know, kind of nothing happened. There was nothing special about it. It just existed. It's like an empty folder on your desktop. It could hold something, but it's not. And in that situation, it meant it kind of never held anything. It was born and died pretty much the same. And then this floor, I'm going to use to try and explain the idea, the different, because I hate when people use like a pocket universe or a pocket space and say, oh, they traveled to a different dimension. No, they didn't. They traveled to a different space that is within another space. It's kind of weird. It's like if the universe is the house, this is like the pocket space or a pocket universe is the universe is basically a room in the house. I am really stupid. It's just a room in the house. So I use this as an example, you know, like they could be all different, you know, it could be different, you know, they can exist as a different number, you know, stuff like that, and in different combinations, or not at all. But yeah, and the idea they run, you know, just like that. So this is, so if I said this, think of this as floor as well, this is basically the building of timelines, you know, the building of possibilities, I guess. And then you finally got the seventh. Now, I'm really glad Minecraft worked out where there's a way I could represent this. These are universes or timelines that aren't made up of the same things. Like, maybe they have different elements. Maybe physics works differently, you know, something like that. But, you know, they all still follow a timeline. You know? And maybe you could add, like, there's, you know, a building of universes, timelines, that, you know, don't flow like our normal concept, but to be fair, I don't have access to something like that I can mentally represent. But yeah, and then you could have ones that have, you know, stuff in them, that have universes, obviously. Oh, this was a mistake. But yeah, and they could be different, you know, like other ones, or they could have, you know, they'll seem very different to us. Like, all these boats look the same. They're the same general shape, but they have a different color. That one looks very different. So the idea is that something like that to us could look very different to us, but it's still made of the same stuff as these other universes. It's made out of wood, even though it looks different, or acts different in that situation. And I am gonna fix that, because that's it kind of sucks. But yeah. And then here's the next step. I would think you go from buildings or floors with floors in them. Well, yeah, you can go up to city blocks, but here's the thing. What level would that be? Because this is already at, like, the concept of, you know, things in the universe being built differently. The only thing I could think of is taking the concept of a universe itself, or you know, something like that, and make it something completely different. But it'd be hard to imagine a universe-like thing that isn't a universe. So I don't really know how I could even represent that. If someone knows, comment it. Let me know. But yeah, I got no clue. But yeah, thank you for watching. And if you just came here to watch that part, you can click off here. If you for some reason care about my channel or my situation and all, stay after and look at the credits. But bye for now if you leave. Thank you if you stayed here. Sorry for the janky looking video. I just put it 8 times speed, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm finally in the apartment with my girlfriend. It is nice to finally have that happen. I also I work now too. Well, I worked before, but this is a little different now. It's 5 days a week, you know, so videos probably won't be as much, but I want to try and at least do once a week, at least. But yeah, there's that. I want to try and do more things other than just playing game, you know, through the story with maybe a little twist, but I don't feel like I've been adding much of a twist. So there will be more stuff like this. I will continue the gaming series, because I just like playing video games too, but, you know, doing some stuff like this, it's not bad. But yeah, I don't think there's much else for me to say. Thank you to anyone who's, you know, started watching or sticked around for a minute. Like, thank you. I hope you have a good rest of your day, good rest of your night, good rest of your evening. No matter where you are, I hope it's good. And yeah, thank you for sticking around.